is here as well. She should be arriving, or did she just arrive? No, she should be here in a second. We are the North American Community Hub. We are Alan, based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Wow, that delay is really something. Yeah, what? I gotta call the sound guy. Saturday. All right. Well, you see, I just want this so we can record it, but we'll figure this out once I'm done. We're talking, so bear with just me. Okay, I have some statements prepared here. All right. On behalf of Intersect North American Community Hub, we'd like to welcome you all to the 2024 annual member meeting. Thank you for being here on this beautiful day in a very lively Austin. I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's a lot of liveliness all around. If anyone has stepped outside, and this is going to continue. It's Austin city limits. It's the Grand Prix, and it's Austin, Texas. So it's always lively here. We're thrilled today has finally come. We've been seeing the anticipation and the optimism buzzing at other AMMs. Who was at any other AMM? We know that Nick and Jack were. Anyone else make any other AMM? Well, pleased that you guys decided to come here. Knowing we'll be leaving here feeling the same sense of excitement for the future of Intersect. We believe the key to unlocking success and sustainability of communities, like in the Cardano ecosystem, is creative, collaborative experiences. With so many exciting events on the horizon, some part of the North American Community Hub, and with so it's fitting that this gathering be the kickoff to the North American Hub. We are brand new. Some other places are a little bit more mature, and we're just getting our footing. And based on the excitement and the interest here and online, what we got so far, it's a whole big region. Got a lot of excitement. Thanks to everyone at Cahoots. Thanks to the awesome musicians that should be arriving soon. Thanks to our Spotlight members presenting later, as well as Joshua Stone, our keynote speaker. Thanks to Nick, Jack, and everyone at Intersect that helped bring today together. And at last, but certainly not least, thanks to everyone here and all the members for being Intersect members and for joining us here today. And I guess without any further ado, I believe that we're turning over to Jack. Everyone give a round of applause for Jack. Jack Briggs.
Cool. And so does this go next?
Yeah.
Hi, okay, cool.
Is that right?
Yeah. Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Jack, and some of you know me from lots of different events. And I've been around in Cardano for about 4 years now, give or take. I came an ADA holder in 2019, and then I joined IOG in 2021, and then moved to Intersect to get this going. But I got it going at IOG, to sort of be clear, with a few of us, Nick included. And essentially, I joined, maybe my backstory a little bit here is that I joined IO to market Voltaire, like what is Voltaire, with governance. And in 2021, I did nothing. There was no SIP, there was no idea about what it was going to look like. And so it was cool. It was really exciting to be a part of that journey way from the beginning. And then Charles came up with the vision of the MBO, and you hear about that a lot. And so Intersect was born from Charles' vision of having an MBO, and it made sense for how we could govern this ecosystem. To scale it, essentially, what we're going to do. These annual member meetings this year are the first, so as Peter was talking about, we've had 6, I think, so far. No, this is the last one, so 7, including virtual one. We were going to do a big one in Tokyo, but that wasn't going to really open up everybody else around the world. We've got 73 countries now that are members of Intersect. So this will be the first of many annual member meetings that we run every year. But the whole point of this really is, one, we have a legal requirement to do this. So we're going to do it. We're incorporated in Wyoming. And so we need to make sure those guys are happy up there. We'll also be doing an annual report. We're getting that out, I think, in about, some point in November. We have to submit that to Wyoming by the 8th of December, just so we're incorporated there, get the filings in. But the annual report will give much more detail about everything that's happened this year and also our finances and how we spent the money we've given. And I think that's a nice sort of segue to why we're running these members meetings. Part of that is to enable members just to get together, meet in person. I think a lot of the stuff that we talk about on Twitter, we can get quite entrenched in our views about what we should be doing with governance, how we should be spending the treasury, the biggest, I suppose, going to be the most controversial subject that we have as an ecosystem moving forward. Parameters are probably secondary, I would say, to some of that. And part of that is, of course, finances and what we do at Intersect, how we support our members. And yeah, exactly, kind of what we spend on, what our money is. IOG and Emergo funded us in the beginning. So we've had no treasury spend or any use from the treasury so far. The IOG and Emergo gave us some bootstrapping funds, they got us going towards the end of last year. And that money is going to run out, of course, because we're burning through that. We're trying to do that in a sustainable way. We were only meant to have a year of funding, but we've been able to stretch that to 18 months through sort of careful workings. That's good. But ultimately, we will need some treasury funding to a certain extent next year to keep Intersect going, and that's up to the community to vote on that and approve that if they want to see Intersect continue and deliver a lot of cool stuff, which we think is cool. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we could do next year as well. And I really want to hear back today on what things we're not doing and what we should be doing, and sort of all of that retro stuff, which we'll get to later. So yeah, transparency and governance is always really important. I think when we started with transparency, we'll get to this actually in a minute. Yeah, I'll skip. Yeah, so we had Tokyo. I'll quickly go through this. We had Tokyo, Lisbon. We had a virtual town hall. We had Accra, Ghana, Colombo, Sri Lanka. Just came from Mexico City, finished there, and now we're in Austin. So it's a bit of a sort of world tour. We tried to keep it fairly minimal, so only one or two people maximum will travel to these places because it's a lot of traveling. We sort of split it as well, so Nick and I have done the latter bit, whereas a couple of the other team members have done the Asia side, just because of our own sanity as well as money. Cool. Okay, so today's agenda, we can go through, this is probably actually superseded actually by photos of the main agenda. So essentially this is what we're going to do from the Intersect agenda. There is, I know, keynotes with Joshua and Tex and Adam. So we'll pepper that in as well. I'm not sure exactly, but we can work that through. So the main thing we're going to talk about today is the celebrating 2024, what we've done this year, some of the numbers, which are really impressive actually. And then what I'm really excited about is what does 2025 look like? What can we start to think about next year? Because we're nearly the end of the year. Some of you may have caught Charles's 1.5 hour video yesterday that he put out on the 2030 vision for Ghana. I haven't watched it full yet actually, so I need to do that on the plane tomorrow. But that is some of the exciting stuff that we decided to look forward to. And we're very much, hopefully, going to be in China with everything that Charles wants to do as well. Because ultimately, to be really honest, Charles is one of the greatest marketing assets that we have as an ecosystem. And if we can achieve 80% of his vision, then I think we're on a really good side. Yeah, we're doing the right thing when we move forward. Then we're going to have a retro, as we talked about, which I think is something I really want to spend a lot of time on with this team here. Like, what are we doing well? What are we not doing well? Lots of things to improve. We know that. But let's go into it. I think with this year. So Nick, I don't know if you want to take over some of the couple first slides. Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Jack. Most of you here know me. I'm Nick Cook. I'm responsible for membership and community hubs at Intersect. I got into the industry in 2017 and fell properly down the rabbit hole in 2018 by taking my entire salary in Bitcoin, and I've been in ever since. I joined Intersect around about this time to help start the organisation with Jack. Obviously, Intersect really only launched in January, so we're only really 9 full months into the year. So we thought we'd talk through some of the things that we've done this year and some of the things that we've achieved. And when I say we, I mean us collectively as a members base, associates, everyone within the ecosystem and who's involved with Intersect. So we've spun up and launched 7 committees. Most of you will be familiar with most of those, so I won't go into too much detail on those. We'll cover that a little bit later on. But that's really the base work and the groundwork with which all of our governance hangs off of these committees. We spun off over 40 working groups and special interest groups. Most of those aligned to the committees, some not necessarily, but most of them are, so that they can push up discussion points, decisions to make through committees. Currently, where we are today, we have hundreds, literally, of people every day engaging with Intersect, which is pretty impressive given that, like I say, we're only 9 months in. And that's, yes, Intersect staff, but it's also community members, it's associates, full members, people sitting in these working groups, committees, everyone coming together on a daily basis to contribute in many different ways. 140 plus election candidates. I notice we have an embarrassment of riches here today with the amount of people that we have who are part of those elections. It'd be interesting, actually, put your hand up if you are a candidate in the elections. That's the best so far, man. Well done. That's impressive numbers. We've attended over 20 industry events this year. So we attended Consensus, we attended Rare Evo, but there's also a lot of events that are not real big mainstream events, either in North America or Europe, like Codex in India, where there's a lot of students who are starting to get involved with Intersect. So that's been really successful. We've engaged with over 70 suppliers, which is no mean feat, and that's in all facets of Intersect. It could be marketing providers, it could be people who are providing development capability, right across the board, from consultancy and those who provide resources to us. We've had over 10K unique users to the knowledge base, which, again, is an impressive number, with over 1,500 pages created. And many of you here would have contributed to those pages. This number's actually increased a little bit now. I think we're about 1,650 members, but still, when you think that we only really launched our membership drive, I think it was 29th of May, there or thereabouts, when we were here at Consensus. So in that short amount of time to have got to 1,600 members, again, is quite a feat. It goes to show that there is a huge amount of people out there wanting to get involved, wanting to take part, wanting to really help drive Intersect forward. We've got over 2,000 associates, so people who are taking part, who are engaged, but might not yet want to become full members. But again, it pushes us to this kind of 4,000 people active within Intersect, which is incredible. As Jack mentioned earlier, across 74 countries, and with 6 community hubs, one of which obviously we're in today. And thank you for spinning this up really quickly as a new hub in North America. Huge thanks to Kana and Maggie for that. But we have hubs in Japan, where about a third of our members' base is now. We have one in Latin America, which has spokes out into Mexico and a couple of other locations, which is where Jack and I have just come from running a similar event. We've got one in Sri Lanka. We have one in Portugal. So really starting to grow, and those hubs are starting to come together now and work together for the real benefit of Intersect, both educationally and to really drive participation. We've released 35 dev reports, so I'm sure many of you get these on a weekly basis. Our way of communicating out what we're actually doing each week to try and be transparent, to try and drive that real participation and letting people get involved, letting people understand what's going on. We've issued 133 grants across 15 categories, which again has been a huge amount of work, and deploying over 3.6 million ADA, which is pretty impressive. From a technology standpoint, we've managed a hard fork. I'm sure there are many of you here who that strikes the fear of God into you, the word hard fork. Certainly from a technology point of view and from a coordination point of view, it's a massive undertaking, and it's really, really hard to get right. So I believe it's the first hard fork that was managed, that was coordinated and managed essentially away from IOG, which was a huge success, certainly for us. We have 12 continuity suppliers, and what we call continuity suppliers are those really working on the core Cardano stack, those keeping the lights running and doing further development at a real high level. And across those continuity suppliers, we have over 24 contracts. And those contracts are really tightly measured and monitored, certainly from the point of quality and delivery assurance, to make sure that A, the membership base and everyone within Cardano is getting the right value and the right delivery from those contracts, and making sure that we're holding those suppliers accountable for what they've signed up for. And on that basis, we've got 78 of those milestones covered across those contracts, and 58 or 56 still live. We've had, I think that number again is very low, isn't it, Jack? It's much higher than that. 90 or so repos that have come across to Intersect now, and over 5,000 visits to our Gov tool, which is pretty impressive. I'll hand back to Jack to go through a little bit on governance stats and a little bit around what our grants have been doing and what we've achieved with those.
All right, thank you. Okay, yeah. Actually, one thing back on this page. Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I think hopefully a few of you know that we do have the core Cardano Haskell nodes, all the repositories there with housed by us. So we're maintaining and stewarding those. Tex can talk a little bit about our open source approach with our repos shortly, so we'll hear a bit more detail there. And really, how we presented this back here, one is sort of membership, so that's our internal sort of vanity metrics to some degree, right? But then there's the side which is, okay, we've got Cardano's on-chain governance, it's here, it's real, it came on September the 1st. The next hard fork is going to be hopefully before Christmas, and that unlocks the final features of Cardano's on-chain governance. We've got to get the ICC and SBOs to agree to that, so there's a new paradigm in how decisions are being made. Nick touched on the fact that we've had this hard fork working group. It's the first time we've hybridized the sort of decision making for the hard fork. So it was the last hard fork, the IOG, Emergo, and the CX side was on September the 1st. But it was managed through this working group with 50 people in it, and all of those three entities, but plus a lot more people. Now, the guys, of course, participated because they, IOG and IOE, so that's input output engineering, that division are, of course, very integral to releasing node updates. And so they will be doing Node 10, which I think is coming next week, if I'm not mistaken. And Node 10 is the candidate for the second upgrade. And that's coming hopefully before Christmas, but there's lots of things moving there to see if we can make that happen. And then we're in this real world where you can't point any fingers at anybody, really. On-chain governance is here, we're all playing a role. And Intersect is just, the idea for Intersect here is that we are working together to solve those big problems, essentially driving better outcomes on-chain is the idea. So you've got governance on one side, and then the reason why I mentioned core Cardano is because we have the technology side. So we're maintaining and stewarding those repos, developing and enhancing them, and helping the decisions. What we do on those repos, the decisions come from our on-chain governance and all of the deliberations we have off-chain. So hopefully that's a bit more clarity on what we do really in Intersect, which is quite a lot. And maybe we can also sort of think, what do we want to narrow down to next year, so that we're not too spread with everything at the moment. All right, so yeah, talking about Cardano's governance, we had 7,000 testers on SanchoNet. SanchoNet was launched last year as a testing ground for Cardano's governance features. 7,000 testers there, and within the first month of launching Cardano GovTool, we had 5,000 users visit GovTool. So you can see that it took 12 months to get 7,000 testers. It took 1 month to get 5,000 on GovTool. Kind of obvious in some ways because Cardano's governance is real. Okay, now I can actually delegate to DREP, and I can actually look at governance actions that are coming through. So it sort of makes sense. And this number, of course, is going to go up. It is going up. 60, I think it's actually 63 workshops we've had on the Constitution. One was yesterday. I think there's one more left, and then it's wrapped up as a series. And then we'll have 63 delegates and alternates, of which 2 are here now in the room, which is cool. Going to Buenos Aires to represent Austin, represent the North American, or this particular workshop, and hopefully sign the final Constitution, get it ratified on the chain next year. We'll see how that goes in Argentina. Another part of work we did was set up a workshop pioneer program for DREPs. So I know Jenny's the pioneer leader at the back. I'm sure there's some more, if I've missed you, sorry. And really that was to deliver localized content in the regions where everyone is. We've delivered, part of that has resulted in 434, probably more actually now, DREP pioneers that have passed that course that those 44 workshop leaders delivered. That's sort of how the maths works there. 8,000 delegators, I think that's close to 10,000 now. Those are people that have delegated to a DREP. Actually, hands up in the room who has delegated to a DREP. And, okay, that's good. And how many who hasn't delegated? That's a better one, actually. Okay, cool. So, I mean, actually, I need to as well. I'm pretty guilty. I haven't chosen my DREP yet.
I signed up as a DREP.
All right.
Delegated.
Okay, that's true, actually. If you want to be your own DREP, private DREP, then yeah.
Right. Literally, I'm in the middle somewhere. I'm like a DREP and I delegated myself.
Yeah, well, yeah, we voted directly, right? Which
Yeah.
is, that's a good choice, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a lot more to do. I mean, we've got 600, again, that's more now. It's not 600 million staked, I think it's about 800. 200 of that, give or take, is delegated to auto abstain. So there is that other angle which you can just do. And most of the exchanges are doing that, and there's a reason why that's there. But we need to get there. Yes.
Can you say that again? How many chose to abstain?
It's about 200 or so million, but it's an auto abstain option. And I think a lot of it is exchange based, but Adam may actually be able to correct me a bit more. Yeah, it's something like that. But we obviously need to get that to billions because we've got 33 billion circulating stake. A lot of that is with exchanges, so we want to get exchanges, people to get into their own custody and be able to make their own decisions. But that's in general. I mean, we should be doing that anyway. But yeah, we want to get that into the billions at least before Christmas if we can, because when the SBOs and the ICC vote to turn on the final features of Cardano's on-chain governance, DREPs now come online. They're now playing their full role in Cardano's on-chain governance. So the more delegated state, the better outcomes you'd like to think. We're going to have the majority of the ecosystem getting what they want. Fingers crossed. We have a bit more hope for that, but yeah. Yeah, you know what I mean. All right. So just a couple of things on the grants, and maybe I should something I didn't mention here. The 12 continuity suppliers are those that have been working on deploying infrastructure, as Nick said. That obviously has been IoG, as we know. They're the sort of core engineering arms of Cardano since it started. But there are many other partners that have always been involved in this. Twee, MLabs, Galwar, WorldTypes, a bunch and more, up to 12, that have been working on this. But they've been doing it behind closed doors. They've been doing it with IoG, with private contracts. And that's been fine because we didn't have an MBO to open that up. But now those contracts don't exist with IoG anymore, they're with us. And we're the counterparty to those contracts directly. And as Nick said, there's 24 of those contracts that are out. You can see what they are on our knowledge base, you can track their milestones. All this stuff wasn't possible before Intersect. We didn't have that capability to make it open. And also our contracts stipulate that you have to share milestone reports with the community and promoting that transparency that we didn't have before. So I think that's a really nice sort of milestone to focus on. But also knowing that 12 is a pretty small number. Like we've got 12 core developers firms at the moment working on Cardano. It's probably a bit more actually. Intersect has some latest stats on the open source commits to our repos, which is pretty cool. But ultimately, I think we as an ecosystem, hopefully I'm not speaking for just myself, we need to improve the developer ecosystem. We need to have more developers working on the core infrastructure because that's how we decentralize and that's how we distribute our work further. We've got to have more people. So how do we do that? And that's part of our 2025 thinking of helping create a better developer ecosystem and opportunities with that. All right, I'm skipping about a bit, sorry. Let me go to the grants, just a quick one. Yeah, so Nick talked about this. We've had some grants for our governance tooling. So gov.tools is where you can find all the information you need to delegate a DREP, become a DREP, submit an action, that kind of thing. There's still more work to do on that. It's not a finished article yet. And particularly around when a governance action expires, we've had, I think, two now, actually. Two have expired. Two interactions that had no impact on chain. They were pretty just polls. But when you go to GovTool, you can't see those expired actions. That's just a simple thing. Like, okay, we want to see what they were, why they expired, how much ADA was allocated to them, for example. So we're building that now. Lido Nation have been awarded that grant to build that functionality in GovTool. GovTool is a fully open source repo as well. And you can, it's also under the Apache 2 license. So anyone can fork that repo, create a new GovTool or a bunch of new tooling, and part of the Apache license is to give that value back to the core code so that we're all advising tied into repos type of thing. Yeah, DREP Pioneer Program was a grant, which we've spoken about. Of course, Core Tech, that's the 12 continuity stuff, and also everything to do with the hard fork. And then a lot of grants have been on the Constitution. So funding those 63 workshops, also paying for the travel for alternates delegates to go to Buenos Aires. We're all doing that through, and just to be clear as well, that is through the bootstrapping funds that IoG and Mogo gave us, so we've been delivering this through those funding arrangements that we got at the beginning.
Up to the AMM events too.
And the AMM, yeah, so everything we're doing here has been part of that bootstrap fund that we had from IoG and Mogo. And I think we've done a lot with it, actually. I'd love to do a lot more, and hopefully next year we can do that a lot more, but we need the community to say, yeah, it's doing a good job, you know, maybe not perfect, but definitely not perfect. But is it still worth it keeping here? And we'll talk about that later as well. Okay, this is just a quick snapshot of the people we've got working on Intersect, but there's like thousands more. We couldn't fit everyone on the screen. So if you're not on here, apologies. If you are on here, you've got some spotlight. But there's loads more. And this is part of we'll talk about it later, but our membership benefits. We want to list out people. We want to properly recognize contributors with badges, with sort of general gamification. But just knowing that there's been, as Nick was saying, thousands of people doing stuff this year, and we don't call out enough. we're going to say thank you for that free time, because everyone's volunteers. Everyone. No one's being paid, apart from me. I'm being paid. But there's not many of us being paid. Some people may be getting some pay, some grants. Yeah. Some people are getting some money for certain things. All right. Well, let's move on from that now. Yeah. All right. So we've got some elections. This is some people that had standing for elections. So thank you. They closes tomorrow at 10 a.m. UTC, which is. So if you need to vote, do it today. If you haven't done so. We've had, I think, roughly 3,300 or so votes cast in the 2-week period that we've been running the elections. So it's pretty cool. Each member gets 33 votes, I believe, to select across 7 committees and 2 board seats. So 3,000 or so cast. But we're about 30% voter participation right now, which is sort of like, oh man, that's what we have everywhere. Is this a human thing? We just don't get people turning out to vote. I mean, that's what it is. I'd like to get, I don't know, maybe we need to lower our expectations. I think we can get some more. We're going to get some more. But this is the first time we're doing this stuff. People are not used to doing it. And also people don't really know, like, what am I voting for? Who are the people I'm voting for? There's a long list of 140 candidates. I think it's a little bit less, actually, but people take 140 candidates. And then you've got to read their profiles. It's like doing a catalyst vote. You've got to read like 1,000 proposals on catalyst. Thank God we didn't do it at the same time as the catalyst vote. But anyway, it's hard and it's work, and there's no direct incentive either. I think that's really important to mention. No one's really doing it here for a clear monetary gain. We're doing it because we care about the ecosystem. I'm an ADA holder, we're all ADA holders here, and we've got to work on this together in some capacity for free. But ultimately, we've got to get that incentive model right for next year. So I don't think we can continue to run on goodwill. It's a tank that runs dry eventually, and you just get a level of participation that is maybe not enough that we need. And so anyway, we're looking at incentive models. It'd be cool to talk about that as well with everybody. So yeah, just quickly here, we have a relatively. Whenever you talk about committees, you think of bureaucracy comes to your mind immediately, right? Committees, subcommittees, work groups, special interest groups, steering committees, governing board. Oh man, where do you go in that, and who makes decisions? And it can feel quite bureaucratic just by talking about it. I feel saying bureaucratic, but one of the things that we've done really well, I think, by the numbers is demonstrate we can have effective bureaucracy if you put deadlines on things, if you put a really clear remit on what committees will do, and that's been demonstrated, I think, through the numbers. 1,500 knowledge base pages, and 90% of that was created by committees and work groups, not me. So that's demonstrating that we can achieve stuff through a bureaucratic way of working, or an apparent bureaucratic way of working, with deadlines and with that energy to get stuff done. So yeah, we've got that. Just a quick one on the ISC. So the ISC sort of sits above these 3 levels here. It's a steering committee that brings together all of the committee chairs and some other hubs as well to talk about, or break down information silos, share best learnings and what not to do, what to do, kind of thing, so that hopefully we can break down those silos, as I said. And then we do have a governing board. That is a regulatory, a fiduciary type role. We have to have that for Wyoming, as I said before. In fact, I think there's who's standing for the board? Adam's standing for the board at the back. Colin's standing for the board as well. Okay, cool. So thank you very much. They are legal role. This has very specific requirements, and they're joining our board of 5. So we have IOG, Emergo on the board, and that's part of their bootstrapping funds they gave us. The University of Wyoming is on the board, and the 2 additional seats that are being made available now, which will be confirmed on Thursday next week. So the elections, I should add, the results of those are coming on Thursday, 6 a.m. UTC, I believe. And you can see the results in the members area when they're out. All right. What the elections for? Okay, I've talked about this already, so we can skip some of this. Just actually to mention, 50% of the seats are available now, so this is really small. The other 50% of seats will be available in April, and the idea is we do a 6-month voting, so we have a good cadence of people rolling off, rolling on, and knowledge is being shared, and we're all learning and leveling up each other as we go. So 6 months feels like a good cadence for voting, but it could be that we do it annually moving forward, and we can decide as members how we want to do that. There is one other sort of side council, I don't know how to best phrase this. It's the Intersect Constitutional Council, and they're made up of 10 members. In fact, I think Adam's a member of that too. And is anyone else a member? I'm going to get this wrong. So, Jenny's on a different council. And Nico, yeah. So there are just as a step back as well. Our on-chain governance requires a constitutional committee to exist. We have an interim constitutional committee, and there are 7 members of that. Intersect has 1 seat of that 7. Jenny's on the Atlantic Council, which is another seat of the 7, so independent, completely separate to Intersect Council. Will make her own decisions with her group, irrespective of what we decide at Intersect. And our council at Intersect is member-based, so I don't sit on it, I don't have a voting seat on it, which I think is quite important for me at least. And the 10 members of Intersect who are on that council decide the constitutionality of governance actions along with the other 6 members, and they record that vote on chain. And we've done so for the last 2 interactions. So it's been a lot of work actually for the council, and just all councils actually. It's not easy, and again, it's volunteer. There's no money involved here for these council members and these committee members. So kudos to that. But part of our 2025 plans is to how much do we want to support Cardano's on-chain governance with the right incentives? Do we need to actually pay people something so that they can spend a few hours doing stuff and not feel like they can't do their normal job, or they just are not getting enough love back? So it's all, we need to talk about this as a community, because I'm not sure exactly what the answer is, but together we can work it out. Anyway, as I said, the date for voting finishes tomorrow morning, so very early tomorrow morning, so vote today if you can. And yeah, you can do that through your members area. All right, these are the committees. I know everyone sort of knows these committees, so I don't want to speak like this for too long. But we have 7. Membership of community, inward-looking community, inward-looking committee that essentially is looking at how does Intersect behave better as a member-based organisation, what values can members get, what more value can members get, and also looking at marketing Intersect, and I spoke to Shaggy about it super briefly earlier. For me, and again, I'm one person, my opinion is the MCC should be able to vote and decide and work on Intersect marketing, but the Cardano's marketing, bigger than Intersect, way bigger, should be part of the budget and product committee, and the marketing working group have been working in sort of both areas, and they've been covering both, which is cool actually. And so I think when we get the new elected candidates, we'll have that synergy meeting with, this is what 2025 looks like. Let's talk to the marketing working group, let's talk to the MTC, and let's make a good plan of how we can work this. But I'm thinking bounties, I'm thinking all these cool things we can do so that we scale, because we can't do it in Intersect. My team, there's only 2 of us really in the team, we can't do it. Nor do I want to either. So yeah, we've got budget committee, as I said, looking at Cardano's budget. We're going to be talking about that in Dubai with a big progress update of where we are with it. That product and budget go hand in hand, because the product committee essentially is looking at everything that we want to develop next year for Cardano. Is that Oracle's layers? Is it Peras? Is it validation zones, which has been a recent theme that's emerged from Andrew Westberg, and other things around everything that Charles talked about yesterday as well, actually. So it's really interesting. It's just really exciting, actually, what we could be doing next year. But what we need to agree on as a community is how much do we want to fund from the Treasury. And this is where all of us have a say. It's going to be the most controversial thing. There is a spectrum at the moment. I'm seeing that you can either be like, let's invest right now. The time is now. If we don't invest heavily right this second, we're going to miss the ball run. We're going to miss all of this opportunity. That's valid. The other side is, no, we've got to protect the Treasury. We don't want to misspend. We just want to focus on the core infrastructure. We need a couple of key features delivered, and we should spend just enough and see how it goes with testing. And I suspect we'll fall towards the conservative side of that a little bit, but there's going to be that's where we're going to fall, somewhere in the middle. But people are going to be entrenched in those views, and we'll see how that flows. We are going to be launching a big survey in Dubai for everybody to get their priorities in for next year. Some people care more about marketing, growth, and scaling. I think actually we all care about that. We all care about that. But how much do we want to spend on the Treasury versus core infrastructure and all this kind of stuff? So a survey will go out, another survey, but it's the best way to capture everyone's feedback. Technical steering committee and the parameter subcommittee, so both of those, it's sort of that world, are looking at the technical standards about what are we doing, reviewing the work that's happening, making sure that it's based on the best technical standards. A lot of the core devs are in those groups, so some of the brains from IOG are in these committees, making it happen, along with all the other continuity partners I've spoken about before. And in the parameter subcommittee, and Adam's going to probably touch on this a little bit too, is that they will recommend if a governance action, for example, comes over to change K to 1,000, is that a good idea or not? And the parameters committee can review that idea, they can benchmark it, they can simulate it, and they can say, well, it won't break the chain, it's within the guardrails, the constitutional side of that, and also, is it sort of recommended that we could do that from the parameter subcommittee? But ultimately, it could still happen, irrespective of that committee's recommendation, if DREPs vote on it, and of course SBOs as well. Then we've got the steering committees. I've spoken about that already. The Cardano Civics Committee is very much focused on enhancing Cardano's on-chain governance. What we need to improve there moving forward. That includes tooling, but also general awareness and education, and governance support for DREPs at the ICC and the SBOs. What do we need to do to make sure we're encouraging that participation so that 30% becomes like 50%, and then we're all a bit more happier. And then the Open Source Committee, Tex is going to speak a lot about that later, but really we have to, Cardano has always been an open source project, but you could argue maybe not that mature, and it's getting more mature through the new committee structures for open source. We've got an open source program office, and some really interesting stuff happening with incubated projects next year, loads of cool stuff, but I'll save those different texts to talk about. All right, that's enough of committees. AMM voting. One thing I will say on this, where we do things differently to the on-chain world, is that it's one member, one vote. So that's really, well, 33 votes, one member in this example. But the point is, it's not state-based. Doesn't matter how much ADA you have, your voice does count. And it's a small counterbalance to our state-based system that we have online. It doesn't matter how much ADA you have. And I think this is really nice to, and ultimately, the decisions that are happening on-chain are really coming from Intersect, at the moment at least. And so how, this is a really great way of having your voice heard in a much more egalitarian setup. Okay, this is how voting happens. I think I don't need to, you guys are going to be over this. Essentially, you've got your list of people, a lot of people to read. You can click on the candidates there, and then you vote, you select them. Big shout out to Summon, so Adam as well. Adam's all over the place. Summon providing the back end, so a lot of this will be recorded on chain. Zerberus we partnered with to do the audit on Monday, this Monday coming, to get that audit done quickly, and then it will go on chain and everyone can see the results. 23rd, yeah. Thursday, 23rd, yeah. All right, and so it's pretty simple. UI is pretty clean. Vote submitted. Yeah, there you go. So we've got a break now, but I don't know if you wanted to. What was next on the? Any questions as well? I mean, I don't mind hands up as we go. We've got plenty of time for stuff.
When are we getting new art for Intersect?
New art.
Art.
Yeah.
Slides.
Yeah, we do have some new ones actually. I'll send it out. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. But we've got a founding member NFT coming out soon for all the founding members that join. It's a nice little thing. And we're going to do more of these, right? Am I a member of a committee? Am I a member of my contributions level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Those are cool ideas we can do here. So yeah, I'll send you some stuff. Yeah. So what do you want to do next? You want to
Do the member spotlights, or we can take a little break? What do you guys
Yeah.
think? You want a tiny break, or?
Let's take a break.
a break? 5 minute break?
5 minutes.
Yeah, 5, 10 minutes. All right, cool.